in his mind. So the fact that I was able to study all this stuff and really understand, Pete Johnson, Boogie Woogie, and also understand all these other guys that were out there doing this, and just to be playing on that level, that's what he really wanted. And he always directed me to do that and stay away from playing any Professor Longhair stuff. So.
That rare, Gate lived in Slidell, which is outside of New Orleans, but you rarely hear of a band leader saying, don't play anything like Professor Longhair. Yeah.
Well, he was also like a guy that he was an original guitar player. He was in a group of guys that were the first guys to walk out in front of a band with an electric guitar. And his first recordings were in the 40s. And so he saw all these other guys come up. He was before BB and Albert King and all that. The only real guys that were before him was T-Bone Walker. So anytime we go out and go check out a guitar player or something, first thing we do is sit right in front of the guitar player and smoke his pipe to try to intimidate him. and he would always complain that like they're trying to sound like BB or T-Bone or something like that. There's nothing original in that. But the big snafu in that is that whenever we hear somebody that wasn't doing that, he would be like, "Oh, that's garbage. I don't get that," So, that was Gate though. That's the way he was about a lot of stuff. He was always confrontational, and he'd say one thing, and whatever.
I remember one time I went out to his place in Slidell with a female photographer to do a story on him, and he made a point of saying to the female photographer, he's like, "I'd rather have a gorilla in a tree than another wife." I'm like, well, all right, Gate. So you play with a bunch of combos, your own stuff.
Yeah, I do.
After Gate, you were Kenny Wayne Shepherd for a good bit.
I'm still with
Kenny Wayne Shepherd. Yep, playing. Yes. Now, does he let you play some Professor Longhair stuff or not?
Well, what we do is Kenny Wayne Shepherd stuff. So that's not the piano parts in the Kenny Wayne Shepherd music are pretty defined to be certain things. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of playing. I mean, imagine playing in the Rolling Stones and I started whipping out some Professor Longhair. They'd be like, no.
I don't know. Those British guys like the New Orleans stuff. They might actually think that was good.
Yeah. But it's like it's a certain sound, and I do throw in some things when I can, but it's mostly either straight up blues or roots rock music. And Kenny is sets himself apart from some of the other dynamic guitar players of his generations, people like Joe Bonamassa or Eric Gales. Mm-hmm. He's kind of in that same generation of guys that came after Eric Clapton and Jimmy Page and Eddie Van Halen and all those guys. And the thing about him is that Kenny writes songs. I mean, he's had some songs that I still hear on classic radio, and he's able to actually, he can play the heck out of the guitar, but he can also write great songs.
Absolutely. With your own combos, you had a combo with Walter Wolfman Washington, the late great Walter Wolfman Washington.
And Russell Batiste. The great drummer, who just passed away this past year. It was a little weird. Walter was 79, he had cancer, so we knew what was coming. It wasn't a question of what the end game with that was. Russell, on the other hand, was kind of a shocker just because he was in 57 years old, and we didn't expect it. And for me, I had a band with those two guys for about 15 years, and we traveled all over the world and did all this stuff. And I was kind of prepared for Walter, but when Russell died, it was like, I'm the only guy left now. So it was a little bit weird. And but as we get older, we have two choices. You either say goodbye to some of your friends, or they say goodbye to you. And I'd rather be saying goodbye to my other friends.
Well, give them a choice. Yeah, well, and so with that band, you were doing mostly organ, right? It was all
straight up organ. Oh, it was an organ trio with just guitar, organ, and drums. So there was no bass player. I did that all on the organ, and like I said, we played. I probably played over 1,000 shows with those guys.
Yeah.
And I'm not there anymore. But I did bring some CDs that we did out with them.
All right.
Here in the merch shop, you might see that.
So what are you going to play for us today?
Well, I was thinking of playing some. Mainly my thing is that I'm a stylized piano player in the New Orleans piano style, and I do a lot of shows where I actually kind of demonstrate what that is. And I'm not going to do that today, but I do want to play some of that stuff because that's kind of where that's who I am. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is let's do Professor Longhair's Tipatina.
All right, the song for which the club was named. Let's hear it.